The disappearance of Danny Stevens. It had been a week since Danny Stevens vanished without a trace. The townspeople searched the forest inch by inch, on the night he disappeared, and continued for several days after. The head of the local police station, Mr. John Smith, was notified almost immediately. He was a retired police officer who had once worked in the big city beyond the hills. Old, obese, and with a heavy gait, Mr. Smith decided it was necessary to call the police from the big city for such a serious situation. Consequently, 5 officers arrived in Goodharts in their neat uniforms, followed by their trained dogs. For the children of Goodharts, this commotion was as thrilling as a movie unfolding before their eyes. The police searched the forest, the town, and its surroundings. But they found no trace of Danny Stevens. Behind the oak tree where Billy had last seen him, they could still see his footprints in the soft soil. But after a few steps, the footprints vanished abruptly, as if Danny had taken wings and flown away. Despite all the unrest in the town, life soon returned to normal. Apart from Danny's family, the local people, though saddened by the little boy's disappearance, were actually relieved. They felt a strange comfort in knowing that the expected disappearance had finally occurred. They could now breathe a sigh of relief for the next 7 years, grateful it wasn't one of their loved ones. Mr. Porter, the town's reporter, had been the busiest person in Goodharts ever since Danny's disappearance. The voice of Goodharts finally had a front-page story that could capture the entire community's attention. His newspaper, in all its years of existence, had never handled such a gripping subject. Not for 7 years, to be exact. Fairy's father kept himself informed about every detail of the investigation. Every morning, he read the newspaper aloud. Until then, Fairy hadn't paid much attention to the weather forecast or the cost of groceries announced in the local paper. This time, he was all ears. Miss Beatrice Summer, Danny Stevens' teacher, his father read, has been dismissed due to the negligence she displayed while the boy was in her care. Until further notice, she cannot leave the town and must remain available to investigators. A strange map was found among her personal belongings, showing a marked shortcut to the forest. It's also known that Miss Summer behaved oddly a couple of weeks before the disappearance. This raises the question, what role did she play in little Danny's vanishing? Fairy's heart sank. Everyone was blaming Miss Summer. Despite her strange behavior, he knew in his heart she couldn't be responsible for Danny's disappearance. At school, things were just as somber. The old biology teacher, who was always dozing at his desk, took Miss Summer's place for the last days of school. He wasn't a pleasant presence, always clueless and messy-looking. He also smelled like naphthalene, which made the children shy away from him even more. In class, the children were bored, and sometimes they left their seats to act foolishly right next to the sleeping teacher. Those were the only moments of the day when the heaviness seemed to lift. Yet everyone missed Danny's mischief. But the one who seemed to miss him the most was his best friend, Billy Pride. Billy didn't bother anyone anymore. He was sulky most of the time, sitting at his desk, his mind somewhere else. As expected, nobody asked him anything about what he saw on the day of the disappearance. His father had taken care of that. Not even the policeman dared to bother him. Meanwhile, the policemen were trying to talk to everyone who knew Danny. In the local newspaper, the theory that he had run away from home was very popular. But why? Danny was a normal child. A bit more prankish than others, it's true, but a normal child nonetheless. His parents loved him, and now they were desperate to find him. "Poor Danny," said Ben in a soft voice on their way home. "I wonder what happened to him." "Whatever happened, I'm sure he's not all right," Fairy answered, shaking his head. Matilda didn't seem to agree. "Are you both out of your minds?" she snapped at them. "Danny always mocked you. He's always been teasing you. And you're feeling sorry for him? He got exactly what he deserved. And if you ask me, the same thing should have happened to Billy, she finished her plea, catching her breath. Fairy nodded. After all, Matilda was right. Danny had never treated him kindly. The three friends carried on home, barely dragging their feet. The school year was almost over, yet they felt no joy, even with the summer holiday so close. "I miss Miss Summer," said Fairy. His friends nodded. "Nothing's the same without her," Ben added. "It's true," Matilda agreed. "Even if she used to scold me when I didn't do my homework, I still miss her. I don't even feel like going to school anymore." And for the first time, her friends saw tears in her eyes. When they thought about it, Miss Summer had been the only feminine presence in Matilda's life. A thought came to Fairy's mind. "Shouldn't we pay her a visit? We won't stay long. We'll just stop by to say hello and let her know we're thinking about her." "Great idea, Fairy," said Matilda, and her smile was back. "We must tell her we don't believe she has anything to do with Danny's disappearance. She needs to know that." But in front of Miss Summer's house, the children hesitated. The flowers in the garden looked sad, like they hadn't been watered for a while. The windows had their shutters closed. But Matilda didn't give up. She knocked loudly on the door until Miss Summer opened it. The teacher looked different. She had big, dark circles under her eyes, and she looked pale, like she hadn't slept or eaten well. "What is it, children? Is everything okay?" she asked in a quiet voice. "Nothing's wrong," Matilda said in a soft voice. "We just wanted to see how you're doing. And if you need anything. Can we come in?" Miss Summer hesitated for a moment, but then she let them in. They walked into a small, dark hallway where they almost bumped into each other. When they entered the living room, it was also dark. Miss Summer opened one of the shutters, and the room brightened a little. It was a tidy, cozy room with a few pieces of furniture. But the dust and stale air told a different story. The room seemed sad and quiet, just like Miss Summer. The children crowded onto the small sofa in front of the TV, which was turned off. Their teacher sat on a small stool near the coffee table in the middle, wringing her hands nervously. "Would you like some crackers? I might have some left. I haven't been shopping lately." "No thank you, we're fine," said Ben politely. Then silence fell, making them all fidget in their seats. Miss Summer broke the silence. "Any news about Danny?" The children shook their heads no. "I didn't mean for this to happen," she said, and her voice broke as tears welled in her eyes. "If I had known, I swear I would never have planned that trip. Hurting you, the children, was the last thing I wanted," she said between sobs. Fairy felt a knot form in his stomach. "Don't cry, Miss Summer, we know you meant well. But is it true what they say in the newspaper? That they found a map with your handwriting on it?" Matilda asked, wincing as Ben kicked her foot. He was trying unsuccessfully to make her stop talking. "What?" she snapped at Ben. "I'm just trying to help her," she said, giving him a threatening look. Miss Summer smiled. Matilda was quite a character. "It's true," she said, "they found a map among my things. An old map with my notes. But I swear I don't remember when I made those notes." "What were the notes saying?" Matilda asked. Miss Summer hesitated again. "Well, I suppose everyone will find out eventually. It was a note to myself saying, 'You must take the children to the forest.'" The children's jaws dropped. "Why would you write that, when you promised you wouldn't take us to the forest?" Matilda asked. Miss Summer rose from her stool and walked back and forth, wringing her hands. I don't know," she sobbed. "I don't remember any of those." "Do you remember something odd happening before the trip?" asked Fairy. He had that question in his mind for a long time. Miss Summer stopped her nervous walking and took her seat back on the stool. She was now staring at the vase with dry flowers on the coffee table. "There was something actually," she said, frowning. "It started a few weeks before the trip. Every night, I felt a strange presence here, inside my house. I couldn't tell whether it was good or evil, but as the darkness was falling, I felt like I was being watched. Then, objects in my house began to move by themselves. I would see them in one place, and then, a few hours later, in a totally different one. At first, I blamed it on the fatigue. Tiredness, she explained to the children. Then I thought I was going mad. And then, the whispers began. Whispers? Ferry wondered, his heart skipping a beat. What kind of whispers? Miss Summer was shivering. You must think I'm mad, she said, forcing a smile. Matilda placed her tiny hand over Miss Summer's shaking hands. We don't really believe that, she said. We knew there was something wrong with you. Tell us, please. You can trust us. Miss Summer smiled. Then her smile faded away. At first, there were only whispers. Then the whispers turned into a song. A little song without words which someone unseen was humming, over and over again. After that, I lost my sleep. I was simply too scared to sleep. I could only fall asleep in the morning when the sun was rising. And when I would finally fall asleep, I was having the strangest dreams. What dreams? Ferry asked, ever more curious. I can't remember it very clearly, Miss Summer whispered, as if afraid to summon the nightmare back. It felt like I was being chased through a dark forest at dusk. There were dozens of glowing eyes watching me from all around, and I was running without knowing where to. Without knowing if I'd ever escape that forest. And then, I saw a figure made of light ahead of me. I stopped. The figure turned toward me, slowly. I couldn't see its face. I woke up right then. But every time I woke up, I was more terrified than ever. Ben and Matilda squirmed in their seats, and Ferry felt a creeping sense of unease, even though he'd encountered eerie things before. We should get going, Matilda said at last. Our parents are probably waiting for us. Of course, Miss Summer replied. Don't worry, Miss Summer, Ben reassured her. I'm sure Danny will turn up, and everything will be back to normal. Miss Summer managed a smile before closing the door slowly behind them. Poor Miss Summer, Matilda said softly as they walked away. Now I really hope Danny comes back. On the way home, nobody said a word. Ferry noticed that almost every tree along the road had a poster with Danny's face on it. They said goodbye to each other, and as Ferry neared home, a woman stopped him. She had swollen eyes and looked disheveled, as if she had dressed in a hurry. She handed him a poster of Danny. You're Danny's classmate, she said quietly. Ferry nodded, feeling a lump in his throat. I'm Danny's mother, she whispered. Please take this poster and show it to as many people as possible. Maybe someone saw my Danny, maybe someone knows something about my boy, she added before tears filled her eyes again. Ferry took the poster with trembling hands. He stood in the middle of the street long after Danny's mother had walked away, feeling like a shadow of himself. Then he burst into a run. He couldn't go home. Not yet. When he arrived, the forest looked calm, as always. As if nothing had happened. Ferry searched for the tree where Danny disappeared. It wasn't far from the edge. He walked a few steps into the forest, then stopped. He thought he heard someone calling him. He continued walking, but the voice became clearer. Ferry. Ferry, help me, the voice begged. To his astonishment and horror, Ferry thought he saw Danny right there, in front of him, near the old oak tree. He wore the same clothes as the day he disappeared, but he looked scared, terrified even. Please, Ferry, help me, he cried, reaching out to Ferry. As if in a dream, Ferry moved toward him. But before he could reach him, Danny's image dissipated in front of him like a puff of steam. He could still hear his voice, fainter now, his words carried away by the sudden wind. Please, Ferry. Help me.